one of the, thank you, Teresa. Thank you, because I would have forgot. One of the comments that were made was, this class is too advanced for me. I need to start from the basics and I don't know what I'm doing. And many of you, I don't care if you're in the business for 2 days or 20 years, the market shifts, the market changes. You're never going to know it all. The more business you do, the more you know it, right? So this mindset of living in education and learning it all and then taking action, we want you to not really live that way. It's going to be really uncomfortable, because all the what ifs. What if somebody says they want to list their house? I have no idea how to list their house, right? The cool thing about Keller Williams is that there are plenty of people to help you both locally in your market center and then regionally. So don't feel you're ever going it alone, and don't let the unknown and the fear get in your way of building the business, because everyone that runs a high level team was you at one point in time. Does that make sense? I just want to give you that, because it's very easy to get stuck in the fear. Like there's fearless and fearful, and we all have a little bit of both. Being fearless is uncomfortable, and that's totally okay. And with that, so on Tuesday, we talked about sparking your career. Yesterday, we talked about embracing your job. And today we're going to really talk about learning the market and understanding the market. So our topics today are know your market, build your expertise, utilize resources, and then we're going to do a recap and ahas, and then we're going to talk about our daily success habits. Because if you're doing these daily success habits, you will continuously grow your business. So from Gary Keller and the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, here's the truth. If it has been done in another market, it can be done in your market. Once it has been done, no matter where, it's just a matter of finding out how that could be possible in your world. So a lot of people come and say, well, we can't do that here. I live in rural Maine. We can't do what they do in Portland, in the city, in rural Maine. That's not real. That's not a true statement. It may look a little bit different. The numbers may look a little bit different, and yet we really will get there. So understanding the market. What are some things that you think you should understand about the market? Let's just do some brainstorming. What should you know as a real estate agent supporting clients about the market?
If it's a buyer's or seller's market.
Okay. So what type of market are we? That's a good one. We're going to cover that today. What else?
Absorption rate.
Absorption rate. Okay.
Interest rates.
Interest rates. Absolutely. What else?
Inventory.
Inventory. Excellent.
I look at the market from a perspective of knowing what's in your local area, kind of like you mentioned yesterday, was you or the gentleman mentioned, there's a good steakhouse there.
Right. Absolutely. That's an excellent one. So who are your vendors? Where is the best place to go ice skating? We're in New England, right? Where's the best place? What sports arenas are around? When is the best time to travel in Boston, right? If you're in the Boston area. Absolutely. All of those things are absolutely part of what we should know about the market. All right. So knowing and connecting with your market is all about research and preparation. And here's a really cool thing. You just have to know where to find the source. You don't have to be the source. Like you do not have to build the spreadsheets, right? There's the macro level of the market, and then there's the micro level of the market. When I say macro level of the market, that's what's going on, let's say city or town wide, county wide, statewide. That's macro. When you look at micro, that's specific to a neighborhood, that's specific to a specific house. So understanding the macro, our MLS gives us statistics. Our market center gives us statistics. We can definitely get that information that we need as we're going through. There's 3 types of markets. What are those 3 types of markets?
Buyer, seller, and I just went blank.
So buyer market, seller market, and then the balanced market, right? So a balanced market is 6 months of inventory. Anything below 6 months of inventory is a seller's market. Anything above 6 months of inventory is a buyer's market. And if you've been in real estate over the last year, you've seen not only was it a seller's market, but it was extreme seller's market. And if you've been in the market for even since June, right? We went from an extreme seller's market to just a regular seller's market, and that still felt very different, right? So having this information and being able to share it with your consumers and your clients and the people that you do business with is important, and it makes you an expert. So they say 7 months, I say 6 months. And it's been pretty statistically proven that 6 months is that difference. So type of market is the first. Then we have the inventory. Inventory is the number of properties for sale within a market. If I were to ask the question, what's the inventory look like in your market? Is there anyone on this call that could give me a brief 10 words or less what's going on in the market?
In Durham and Middlefield, which is where I am, it's still very low on inventory. There are only like 4 houses for sale in Middlefield and maybe like 6 or 8 in Durham.
Okay. And then if you say, what's the average number of days of a home that stays on the market, right? Like a year ago, it was 3 if you were lucky. Now in the Portland area, it's around 17 to 25. What are other people saying market-wise? How many days on market? Where's your location? And what's the average number of days on market? Anybody?
So I'm in Hull, Massachusetts, and there's about 5 or 6 houses on the market right now. And some of them have been on like over 40 and 50 days.
Okay. And we're going to talk about that because there's a reason why those homes are on the market 40, 50, 60 days. Absolutely. Yep. Overpriced. What the things that affect price is condition, location, and price, right? So if the condition is rough, if the location is rough and it's not priced correctly, it's going to sit on the market. Who can tell me, Margie? You're on mute. Oh, no, you're not. You're good.
People are going down. The listing prices are very often heading down because I think everybody was expecting that top price for so long. Mm-hmm. So I see that kind of happening a lot more often.
You mean I can't put a house on the market and get $100,000 over the asking price today?
No.
Although I have seen like them selling over.
Yeah.
So, but the asking has maybe gone down, but then they end up getting a little bit more than the asking anyway.
Right. Well, and there's a whole philosophy behind that, which I will share. Shelley.
Yeah, I'm in out of the Concord office in Massachusetts, and I have clients in this area in Middlesex County, also in Worcester County, and they're 2 very different markets. But one of the things that I'm hearing from a lot of other agents is even if somebody comes in at asking, owners are saying no, they're waiting for those bidding wars and pulling them off the market. If you meet my price, we're not going to take it, and if I'm not going to get above asking, I'm taking it off the market. Worcester's different. Worcester, we saw a lot of price drops a couple of months ago, and now their price point is so high. I went to an open house with my clients 2 weekends ago on a Sunday. They had been there on that Saturday, and they had 47 people on that Saturday. And on that Sunday, the first 6 couples that walked in, me and my clients included, were all second timers taking a second glance at it.
Yeah. So market is location specific, right? So what I say is happening in Waterboro, Maine is not happening in Portland and is not happening in Concord or Milford or any other area that you're in. Who can share with us, what is the average price a home in your market sells for? What's your average sale price? Randy.
I'm in Hudson, and we're right around 500,000 in our area, average price. I know down by my area, because of the market, I wouldn't say directly the market. Back in July, my house was at 319, and it went up to 530, and 2 houses up the street on the left sold for 635. So the demand is still there. I mean, 530 is just basically an assessment, and I could probably end up getting more, but the market's still crazy, you know. But just to let you know, I'm going in commercial real estate for Keller Williams.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I like commercial. All right. So based on the inventory and based on what you're seeing, what type of market are you in right now? Is it a buyer's market? Is it a stable market? Or is it a seller's market?
I think it's still a buyer's market. I mean, a seller's market.
Okay. So Randy says
I
seller.
still think it's seller, you know.
Margie is shaking her head, sellers. Who else has an opinion? Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm in Quincy in the South Shore, and median price here is about 550, 560 SFR. And what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Do you think you're in a seller market, buyer market, or a stable market?
There's really limited inventory right now, and it's because it's the first of the year, and you're not seeing a lot of properties come on the market yet. So it's pretty much a seller's market, I would say.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead.
Okay. I was actually just looking this morning at the Keller Williams R Regionals Facebook page, and it's interesting. They sent out how's the market, and there are, let's use an example, New Haven region is 845 new listings, but there were 1,039 closings. So just being able to have that as a reference point of wherever I go, I can use this quickly to say, hey, you know, there's 845 new listings in New Haven. What are you looking for?
Yep. So I just have to share how awesome is what you guys just shared. The knowledge that you have. When somebody asks you how the market is, this is the information you're going to share with them. What would get in your way of being comfortable with that conversation?
I think just ourselves, you know, just
Right.
avoiding it. You know, here maybe we feel comfortable with our peers in a learning situation, but like you said, we all have, you know, good knowledge about our areas, so we just have to be comfortable sharing it with outside of our sphere of our, you know, training, learning, work environments.
Right. This is where you practice. And everyone who participated and shared their information, and those that did not but know that information, you have the understanding, the knowledge, and the power to go out and have a very good conversation about real estate. And here's a cheat. If for some reason you don't know that's a great question. Let me do some research and get back to you. I want to make sure I'm giving you the most up-to-date information. There's always a solution so that you do not have to worry about what the next statement's going to be. Margie.
I think unrealistic expectations from like sellers, and that kind of thing. Because some people are still in that mindset, I think, where they are going to get more, and someone mentioned people pulling a house, just because they weren't getting over ask type of thing.
Yep. And that's where, the real estate conversations, the dialogues that we practice, that's where that comes into play, because you have to ask the question. If somebody says, you know what, I will put my house on the market, however, I'm not going to sell it unless I get $50,000 over the asking price that I'm asking for. You're not going to try to explain why that's an incorrect answer. You're going to ask great questions. Share with me what was important about making a move now versus a year from now, right? What happens if prices go down and not up? Do you have a contingency plan? So if you don't know the answer to their question, just ask them a question. The one who talks the most usually loses. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that as if you're the one constantly talking and having the conversation, you could potentially talk yourself out of a listing. If you ask great questions, they're going to be more likely to answer the questions and self-realize that this doesn't really make sense. I should do it this way, right? So just ask great questions. All right. So I like to go back and forth from screen. I apologize if it makes you dizzy, but I like to see your faces. All right, so someone mentioned interest rates and lender regulations. What's happened with interest rates?
They've gone up.
No, they just went down.
Oh, they did.
They just
Thank
went
you.
down.
They go up, they go
They're
down.
still overall up.
Right. They are not 2% or 3%.
Right.
Right. So have your connections with your lenders. Like, who are your preferred lenders that you could pick up the phone and call up and say, I have questions. Mine is Tamika Donahue with Academy Mortgage in Portland, Maine. She's my person. I ask her, she calls me, I email, I text her, she gives me answers. So let's talk about this, right? Because this is knowing the conversation you should have. Seller says, I wanted to sell. However, why would I trade my 3% interest rate for a 7% interest rate or a 6% interest rate? What are some things that you could say back to them?
I would say that the interest rates could go up. I would say you could always still sell your home and buy a home with a higher interest rate, and hopefully a year or so from now they will come down and you can refinance.
Excellent. Margie.
I would be looking at if the seller wants to sell and they want to move someplace, they're looking at a new start, a new beginning,
I like where you're going with that.
And
add on to that.
Yeah, in the same time that they're selling their house, it may be equal to what they're buying, and they may be able to use that money to pay it all off. Or if it's not, they can take out a loan for the remainder of the money and still have it. It depends upon their finance, why they're moving, and which direction they're heading. Do they have more kids? Do they have less kids? Are they moving into a better market? So there are many options, but I will be selling them on how excited they should be about going to a new place and why they're selling and why they want to go to this new place. That's where
I'm going to add on to that with some scripting. Margie, what you got?
The rates are actually not that bad. It's people's perspective. I bought my first house when I was 22 and I had no credit. And my first interest rate for the first 2 years till we established our credit was 18%.
Mm-hmm.
And so I recently saw, a thing with the rates over time, and, over the years we refinanced and brought our rates down, but the rates that we've seen, in the last 5 years or whatever, are extraordinarily low.
Mm-hmm.
And so, excuse me, I think it's, people have to maybe come to a new reality for a little while, and maybe like what people said, you know, down the road, maybe the rates will go down again, you can refinance, but you know, and then you have to weigh the pros and cons of doing that too at the time.
Absolutely. But, and to the point that was made previous, so I have a sophomore in school, right? I have a sophomore in school. My goal is to buy a house that has more land so that the friends can go outside and play. They like to paintball. They like to go hiking in the woods, right? So I only have 2 more years of him being in high school with his friends. So are you willing to trade lifestyle for? So the question that, and again, we don't want to tell, we want to ask. I completely understand your concern around interest rates. What was the reason behind wanting to sell and move in the first place? Yeah. Right. And then after you get that, so using my example, right? So if that's what the reasoning is lifestyle, are you willing to lose that lifestyle because interest rates may not go down? And what's more important?
Right.
Emotion makes them act, right? Logic makes them think, emotion makes them act. So stay in the emotion. I saw somebody else's hand raised. Did they want to add something?
Yeah, I like to add something to that. I mean, as we become realtors in the buying and selling market, our experiences changes. So, and the more that we read and understand what we're doing, the better perspective that we can give to the buyer and the seller when they go to do their business. So absolutely. In my experience, when I won't say exactly when, Maji might know this, I was a young man when I bought my first car down in Florida, and my interest rate at that time was 26.75.
Right.
So that would be part of my conversation with the buyer or the seller, letting them know that what my experience was, and that if it's 7 or 8%, that's really not that bad, you know. Yep. And you can do a comparison between the two, you know. So I mean, paying 7% is really not that bad, you know.
Well, and we don't want anybody to ever be mortgage poor.
No, never.
However, if it's just I missed, like, you missed out on the 3%. Sorry, this is what it is now, right?
No, I would never say that. Never say that, you know.
Right. But at the end of
the dreams and aspirations is always important.
Absolutely, 100%. Shelley.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. And it's obvious a lot of people will say it, clients and us in general, that, you know, whatever the interest rates were years ago, the price of a home was substantially lower. You do have to factor that into the equation, but I'd have to lend something to the, you know, why not put it on the market now versus later sort of issue for all the reasons that happened said. But additionally to that potential clients, what do you think the market will look like in the springtime? You know, there's going to be a lot more inventory. We're going to have a rough year, no question. Rough year like last year, but come springtime, they're going to have more to choose from than just your house as well. Worded in, you know, a certain fashion, depending on where they sit. But that question to the question is, what do you think that market perhaps might look like in the springtime versus getting your house out there now?
Absolutely. This is my favorite time of year. When I was actively practicing, my mission and goal was to get all of my spring sellers on the market in February at the latest, right? And there's another question that you need to ask. I'm going to sell my house in the spring. Are you looking to close your house? What day do you want to sell your home, right? Do you want to sell your home May 1st, April 1st, March 1st? Because if you're looking to sell your home in the month of March, we need to be talking now and planning today, right? So it's not only when they say, oh, I'm going to put my house on the market in the spring, there's 4 months in the spring, depending on where you are. Sometimes it's even more than that. So when you're looking at, I'm going to wait to the spring market, it's not necessarily, I'm going to list in the spring market. What month? And in that month, do you want to sell beginning, middle, or end? Because that's important. you know, some of you know, because you've been in the business long enough, that it takes time to prep a house for sale. And to your point, Shelley, I would rather put my house on the market the day after the Super Bowl, because that's when buyer, for whatever reason, I always noticed in Maine that the market started picking up the day after the Super Bowl. I don't know why it is, but it is what it is. So I always told my sellers, let's list the house the week after the Super Bowl and not be in competition with all those people that put their house on the market April, May. May 1st is in Maine, I'm speaking specific to Maine, I'm sure it's similar in other areas. May 1st is the #1 list date in the spring market. That's when most of the homes go on the market. So if you have 15 buyers and 75 houses, or you have 15 buyers and 30 houses as a seller, where is your strength, right? Just some thoughts. So economic factors. And this, I started talking about this a little bit, right? We don't ever want our clients to be mortgage poor. I will never put my people into a house that they can't afford to live in. No commission is worth it. So what does unemployment and employment look like? How many workers are entering and exiting the workforce, right? In Maine, Hannaford, I think they downsized 400 jobs over the course of the last couple of years, right? What is the growth rate of the community that they're looking at? Are there any government changes? So these are those economic pieces that you don't need to have a huge understanding, but you need to have an overall concept of it. And, you know, if you personally don't have that information, your leadership gets that information, and the agents that do high level production, a lot of them have that as well. And then neighborhood, right? We talked about this at the beginning. Nearby shops, restaurants, health facilities, neighborhood attractions, you know, depending on, is it a family? Is it a single couple? Are they married? You know, is it an older couple that's downsizing and looking for walking distance to everything they need? All of this comes into play. So knowing the specific neighborhoods you're working for, personally, I would never, like, I live in Southern Maine. My daughter lives in Bangor, which is 2.5 hours away from where I live. I don't know this information. So I would never want to go list a house in Bangor, because I wouldn't be able to give the information that the agents, that the clients would need to have. All right. What'd you guys hear?
I heard know your market. Don't be afraid to ask for help if you
Absolutely.
don't know exactly.
Okay.
I heard it takes time to prep a house to sell. How much time?
Depends on the house. If somebody's looking to list a house in February, I would be wanting to start now. You know, we have to come up with a market price. We have to do photos. Does the house need to be staged, right? So one of, you know, a great call to action, we always say, how do we get people to come to us? You know, the one question that I would ask is, are you thinking of putting your house on the market in the next 3 months? If you're thinking of putting your house on the market in the next 3 months, let's talk and put a timeline together, because until I see that house, I don't know how long it's going to take. Like, is it a house that you've lived in for 30 years and it's Nana's house and she's kept every piece of memorabilia and every knickknack and we need to clean and pack? And does a house need to be painted? So those are the questions. And some houses, it could take a week to put on the market. Some houses, depending on what it needs. So you would really, that's the message. If you're thinking of putting on the house in the next 3 to 6 months, let's meet today so we can get you up and running and ready to go. Margie.
The timing and the questions to ask and all that, I think that was very helpful, especially the timing.
Yep. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, here's right. What you do today, you see the results 90 days from today.
Yep. Yep.
Part of that statement is because if somebody tells you they're going to list today, that's fantastic. That house may not be ready. So let's say it takes 30 days to get the house ready. Then let's say it's a market that the market days on market are 15 to 30 days. And then let's say it's another 30 to 45 days to close. You're looking at 4 months before that house is going to close, right? So really understanding timelines, and timeline is not, it's not universal. Every
Sure.
home is different. Every buyer is different.
Yeah.
What else did you hear? One more. You can do it.
I liked when you said we don't want to tell, we want to ask.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. I also just wanted to clarify a question in the chat. Massimo wrote, how do we measure months of inventory? And then Teresa wrote under it, location, condition, price, why a house sits on the market. I wanted to confirm that.
You put yourself on mute. I can't hear you.
Oh, so sorry. I was pressing the thing. Massimo wrote, how do we measure months of inventory? And then Teresa replied, possibly location, condition, price, and why the house sits on the market. I wanted to confirm that that was the answer to that question.
Now, so if you scroll down a little bit more, so a buyer's market, according to Ignite, a buyer's market is more than 7 months of inventory. A balanced market is 5 to 7 months of inventory, and a seller's market is less than 5 months of inventory. The other statement was around, we were talking about pricing a house and why they're sitting on the market. The 3 things that affect why a house sits on the market is condition, location, and price. And condition is condition of the house and condition of the neighborhood, right? Like, because if I had a house that was on a road where there's new construction for the next 6 years, that's going to affect whether or not I want to live there. If I want to hear new construction for the next 5 to 7 years, right? So those things affect. Shelley, did you have something?
Actually, I think she covered it. I was just going to point out the ask more questions, do more listening than talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Also know your vendors, your bank.
Yep, absolutely. Great. Awesome. All right, here we go. I'm going to share the screen again. All right, so our next section that we're going to talk about is building your expertise, right? So how do we make sure we know, and we touched a little bit on this during the last piece. However, becoming the real estate expert of choice, there's a few things that I want to touch on this. Number one is, where do you find the information? I truly believe I desire to be the source of information. I don't want to be the source of the information, right? So in my world, I like Keeping Current Matters. Keeping Current Matters is a national website that gives you status. You could pay for that, or you can get free information. For me, as a newer agent, just take the free information and utilize it. Once you start making money, if you want to pay for it, you could pay for it. And the only difference between the free version and the paid version is the paid version is branded to you. But Keeping Current Matters is an economic update. The 11th of every month, they give you an overview of everything that's going on nationally and everything that's going on in the regions, right? So that's one source. You also have your market center, right? Your market center will give you what's going on in Keller Williams, because there's a difference between the numbers in Keller Williams and the numbers in the MLS. And we're going to touch on that in a minute. So you're going to learn the market. You're going to understand your clientele. You're going to listen to individuals, and you're going to keep the headlines in context, right? See how they all say number one? That is not a mistake. They did that on purpose. So they're all equally important. So learning the market, right? So when you learn the market, you know your lore, the language of real estate. That is what lore stands for. And this is what I was just talking about previously, right? So there's the language of real estate that is national, regional, statewide, county, and then hyperlocal, right? So understanding, you want an overview of what's going on national, statewide, and possibly county, depending on what specific market you're working on. And then you want to be super understanding of your hyperlocal market that you're actively marketing to. So when we're looking at this, the MLS and your boards. I know Massachusetts and Maine does a great job of sharing the reports of what's going on in each town and each county. I'm sure the other states do it as well, because I can't imagine that they don't. However, what's happening in the MLS is different than what's happening in your market center. So for example, and I'll use Maine because that's where my market center is from. In Maine, the days on market for the MLS may be 20, right? 20 days on market. But for KW agents, it may be 12. So understanding language of real estate is not just understanding what's going on in the community of real estate. It's also what sets you apart as a Keller Williams agent, right? We know, and again, specific to Maine, because I know Maine numbers, I know in Maine that our homes that get listed in the, in September, October, we were selling at 101% average, 101% above list price. The MLS, it was like 99%, right? So knowing the language of real estate helps you when you're going on a listing appointment and you're going against another agent. You could say, that's fantastic. I really appreciate. Let me tell you why Keller Williams is a better choice. And then I'll go through our agents sell, right? Because it may not be me because I'm a brand new agent, but I can say our Keller Williams agents sell the homes for 101% above when our clients follow our listing process, right? Because clients have to follow the process and what we tell them to do. If they don't, that skews the results. So I share that information. So understanding the language of real estate is what's going on in your business, what's going on in your market center, what's going on in Keller Williams statewide, and then what's going on in the MLS in your specific market. And it doesn't take long to do because most of our market centers already share this information. They share it during meetings. And if for some reason you're not seeing that, just reach out to your leadership and they'll get it to you. Know your business. Notice changes over time in your personal business, right? Like not personal to anyone, but gross commission income has increased and values of homes have increased. But the number of sales have gone down significantly for many of our larger teams and many of our more successful solo agents. And the reason being, and here's the thing, notice changes over time in your personal business. I might have sold 15 houses last 2022, and in 2021, I sold 20, but I made more money in 2022 than I did in 2021. That's because values went up. So we need to know that it wasn't that we did more business. The market allowed us to make more money because values went up. Does that make sense? So knowing changes over time in your personal business, if I were an agent right now, I would be focused on, it's great that I'm making more money. However, I'm not selling as many units. So because I'm not selling as many units, what do I need to do differently in my business? And then who are your clientele, right? Who are the buyers? Who are the sellers? Does the market benefit your clients? Does the market put your clients at risk? So is there relocation happening? Are you in an area where many of your friends have children that are graduating this year and they're going to be downsizing? So who are the buyers and who are the sellers? Because the need that the buyers have will overcome what the market's doing. The need that the sellers have will overcome what the market's doing. And then understanding, does the market benefit your clients? At the end of the day, if a seller has to sell for a life circumstance, they have to sell. We just need to make it the least affected in what's going on in the market, right? And does the market put your clients at risk? And that putting the clients at risk is having a buyer buy a house that they can't afford, right? Having a seller sell that could wait and would lose a substantial amount of money and not be able to move on to their goals. So you have to know what's going on. It is not about the commission, because here's the deal. Your reputation is more important than a commission. Because if you do right, and I've done this many times in my career, I have told sellers, this is not the time that you should sell based on X, Y, and Z. And they would ask me, don't you want a commission? I do. I absolutely do. However, my win is not more important than your loss. And those people have appreciated me and still refer business to this day because they knew I cared about them and not about the commission check. And then listen to the individuals, right? Take grassroots approach, learn where your sphere gets information and be present. How many of you had heard on the news how awful the market is right now because interest rates have gone up? Is that a true statement? No. So who's telling the story of real estate? Is it you or is it the news? And with social media these days and picking up the phone and making a phone call and saying, hey, you know, I know there's a lot of negative news talking about real estate. I want to just make sure you understand that real estate is hyper local. And if you or someone you know is thinking of selling, make sure you talk to a local real estate agent so that you're getting accurate information and not national information. And then keep the headlines into context, right? Read past the headlines. This is what I just talked about. I can't tell you how many news reports have talked about how the market is crashing. The market is not crashing. Look at the numbers. We just went through this. You know your numbers. You know that that's not the case. So every time there's a news article, if I were selling real estate right now and active with my network, I would be picking up the phone and saying, I know you watch, you know, WGME in Maine. They just had an article. I wanted to answer any questions you may have about it. Right? These are the things as real estate agents that we do to make sure that our consumers are taken care of. All right, that was a lot. That was a lot. What'd you hear?
Yeah, I heard under the part for keep the headlines in context, keep things in perspective is what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And be able to learn to explain so the client will understand.
Yes.
And then the other thing I just heard and kind of put into context is never sacrifice integrity for growth.
Yeah, 100%. Let me just say, yeah, do the right thing. You will win over and over again by doing the right thing. Amanda. Where'd you go, Amanda? Oh, did you? You're on mute.
Sorry. I was going to say something along the same lines. Be your authentic self and don't compromise your integrity for any amount of money. Yeah.
Absolutely. Here's the deal, guys. The reason why we talk about constantly having conversations with your sphere is because the more people you put in your pipeline, right? Pipeline is life. The more people you put in your pipeline, the more opportunities you have, because 1 out of 3 are going to work with you, right? For every 3 people, one's going to change their mind, or you're going to help them to decide that it may not be the right time to buy or sell, or they may not qualify for financing, or. The other is they may choose to work with another agent, and the third is they will work with you. So if your mission is 24 sales, 2 a month, how do you get up to 3 times that in your pipeline? And you only get that way if you talk to people. And the more people you talk to, the stronger your pipeline is. What other thoughts do we have on that? Margie.
I think I liked what you said about, like, if you follow our market strategy, then you can expect these results. But if people don't really want to go along with maybe some of what you're suggesting, it's kind of a good way to have them buy in. Mm-hmm. You know, like this will get the best results. And, you know, because sometimes I think people, you know, give a little pushback on things.
100%. Absolutely.
So I liked the way you worded that.
Very cool. What else did you hear? One more and then we'll move on. Who's got it? One more.
Become the real estate expert of choice.
Yep. Yep. 100%. I don't care if you have somebody that's been in your neighborhood for 23 years, you can overtake that neighborhood. Become the real estate expert, show that you care, and show that you know your business. And you will take over all day long. Randy.
I think the other thing that I was listening to is listen to your individual. While you're talking to the buyer or the seller, if they say something more than once or twice, they're trying to let you know something. So it's very important to, after you get done talking to them, to stop and listen to what they have to say.
Yeah, isolate, right? Like we will get a ton of objections. Like it's I appreciate everything that you shared about that. We just don't think it's the right time to sell. Well, tell me more about that. What is it that's not right about selling right now? We're scared of what the market's going to do. So outside of being scared about what the market's doing, is there anything else that's preventing you from listing right now? Like you're isolating the objection, because sometimes what they told you the objection is not the true objection, right? It's not the reason why. Like they may say, we're going to sleep on it. Well, we're going to sleep on it may mean we're scared to death. We are scared of what's going on with the market and we don't want to make a move today. So what's important about sleeping on it, right? You notice how I don't tell a lot. I ask tons of questions. What's important about waiting? What's important about interviewing other agents, right? What's important about selling it yourself? What's important about, if it's a buyer, not signing exclusively with one agent and just putting it out there to all agents? Like, what is important to you about that? And then when you get that information, it helps you understand, okay, well, based on what you shared with me, here are the facts. Did that answer your concern? Yes, let's sign the paperwork, right? And I know that was really simplified, and yet that's kind of the game, and you'll get better. The more you do these classes and talk to people like me and Teresa and the other trainers on these sessions, the better it's going to get for you. All right. Let's move on.
Tiffany?
Yes.
Can I ask you a question?
100%.
Okay. One of a seller's objection to listing with you, let's say that they choose to interview 2 or 3 other brokers. Now, if that's the case, and that's what they tell you, what do you use as a kickback to that statement?
So, hopefully I've done a great job in my presentation. I said, I understand that you would like to interview other agents. Based on what I shared, was there anything that I did not cover? No. You shared everything. Do you think I can get your home sold at the price that we discussed in the time you'd like? Absolutely. Is your concern more that you have to call those other agents and disappoint them and tell them that you listed with me? Yeah. Fantastic. Well, let's do this. I understand that concern. Why don't you give me the list of the agents that you're going to be meeting with? I'll give them a call, let them know that you've chosen me to list your house, give them a sneak peek of what the price is going to be, so that if they have buyers, they can give their buyers a heads up. Would that be okay? And then I take their numbers. I call the agents. I'm very respectful. I say, I'm sorry they chose me. I'm sorry you didn't have the opportunity to interview, but I'd love to co-broke with you. Do you have any buyers looking in the area? That's a strong conversation to have. And yet it works, because 90% of the time, if they turn around and tell you, you've answered all my questions, yes, I think you can do the job. No, I don't have anything that would stop me from listing today other than I set up. Most of the times they don't want to disappoint those other agents. And I also know from being in this business for 23 years that if I'm the first one and I walk out the door without signed paperwork, I'm probably not going to get the list. It's 50% chance that I'm going to get the listing because somebody else is going to say the same thing I said and ask the question, and they may be vulnerable and say yes. So my mission and my goal is to do a one-stop listing appointment where I go in, I've done my research, I prepared for the listing appointment, which we will talk about in future Ignites, have everything, overwhelm them with knowledge. And honestly, it takes me 2 hours. I'll pull what's going on in the area specific to the house. Like I'll have a whole book on the property. I do all the prep work. I'm so prepared and my presentation is on point because I practiced it and I've talked to other agents and learned what they've done, that there's no reason for them not to list with me. And I walk in with that confidence. And I know it's hard as a newer agent to feel comfortable walking in with that confidence, but confidence is a choice. Confidence is 100% a choice. I will walk into a room and do something that I've never done before and be confident with it, right? Scared to death, but I'm not going to show it. And that's that mindset piece that you have to turn on. But absolutely, 90% of the time they want to interview other agents because they don't want to disappoint them. And I will gladly take the disappointment and deliver it for them. No problem.
Tiffany?
Yes.
Another reason I've come across this a few times in dealing with a seller is they'll tell you, well, you know, we have a friend of a friend who's a realtor and or a relative or someone else. And that would, you know, that's the rationale for them wanting to speak to a few other people, you know.
So Edward, other than having, you know, somebody in the family that's a real estate agent, is there any other reason you wouldn't list with me?
Well,
just say no.
I think it's a lot. No, I think it's a lot easier for someone to say that you've provided them with all the information that they need. There might be some questions about something that you haven't answered yet, and
I'm going to get that objection by asking that question. Other than list, you know, the fact that you have a friend that's, if there's any other reason, I'm going to get those answers right then. But if the legit reason why they don't want to list with me right then, my statement to them will be, I can appreciate the fact that you have a family member in or a friend that is in the industry. I've seen many times in my 23 years of business that real estate transactions may not go exactly how they're supposed to, and friendships or family relationships end because of it. Why don't we do this? I don't want your friend to feel that they're being put to the side. I would gladly give them a small referral fee so that they feel whole. Would that be okay? Let's get the paperwork signed. And then sign the paperwork.
You also mentioned co-broke. What does that mean? You said I'd be happy to co-broke with them?
Yep. So when I say co-broke, so let's say I'm representing a seller and that the agent that represents the buyer, that's the co-broke. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, let me go back to share. Answer, okay.
For another agent to receive a commission referral, do they have to be listed with another broker, or do they just need to have an active license?
Just an active license in a referral network. Like there's referral network companies, and then there's other companies. You can give a referral to another Keller Williams agent, another broker from another company. As long as their license is with the company, if their license is active, but with the state, that's technically inactive. So you can't give it in that instance.
Thank you.
All right. Utilize resources. We've kind of talked through this a little bit. So the KW app. When I work with the seller, one of the first things I do is I have them download the app and show them how, if I'm standing in the middle of the street where their house is, they can look at other properties. and it gives them an idea. I also show them how buyers can utilize this. If they're driving down the street, they can get the information on the house, and that the app also gives them distance to work. It gives them mortgage information. It gives them the opportunity to set up a showing. It allows them to see other photos. I tell them that there's 15 opportunities for a buyer to view that house and connect with me as their agent. Command. This is where we can market the property, right? So, and we'll go through this over the course of time in Ignite, but essentially a question that you'll get asked is, well, what will you do to sell my home? How will you market it? In Command, there's the designs. And in designs, it will show you how to market a house. And that will be something that we will look at in a future Ignite. Just know it's there. And if you want a sneak peek, go in here. If you hit the red KW, it will give the names of each of the applets, and you'll see one of them is designs. It has all kinds of different ways to market a house. So if you want to move ahead faster, go ahead and do that when you have time. So yesterday, everyone should have downloaded the 2 apps. If you did not, we'll talk about that in a minute. And then today we talked a little bit about, Tim had shared what the social media plan is. 2 things on social media. You have your business page, and then you have your personal page. Your business page is where you sell and market. Your personal page is where you build relationships. So when we talk about this section here, the 10 likes, the 5 comments, and the 1 direct message, this is what you're doing personally from your personal page to continue to build relationships. So every day, and if you don't have social media, just ignore this, because people sold real estate before they had social media, and yet social media is just a fast way. If you've already have a Facebook page, you already have an Instagram page, it's just a fast way for you to communicate with people, and it doesn't take a lot of time. So go on Facebook for 20 minutes, no more than 20 minutes. Don't be one of those people that scroll for hours and hours and see what everybody else is doing. Go to 10 posts that your friends make and like them. Write 5 comments. Those 5 comments, they should be 5 words or more. They need to be different on each one. So I'll give you examples. Like if somebody shared that they got engaged over Christmas because for whatever reason, that's a thing, right? Or that they got married on New Year's Eve because that's a new thing that people are doing, right? Write a comment. It was so good to see these photos of your wedding. Everybody looked so happy. Congratulations. I would make a note to make a phone call in like a month, and do they own their house? Do they rent their house, right? So that's some of the benefits of having the social media. Had somebody had a baby, I would congratulate them on social media about having a baby. And then down the road a little bit, I would call them up and say, I just wanted to check in. How's the housing situation? Are you thinking of upgrading to a larger home now that you have your first child, right? And then send 1 direct message. And that direct message could be what we just talked about, where you engage. I saw that you just had a baby. Just wanted to remind you I'm in real estate. It's always a great time to buy if you're looking to upsize, right? That would be what that 1 message could be. So this is just a fast way for you to remind people that you're out there, because every 11 days, people forget that they don't forget, but it gets lower and lower on their memory that you're a real estate agent. And we don't ever want somebody to hire an agent at an open house because they're there and you weren't in connection with them.
I have a question.
Yep.
It's the first time I'm seeing, well, I know you mentioned it yesterday, but I didn't understand. And it's the first time I'm actually able to see this chart, and I did look through the book, but would this be considered 5 responses to the 10, or would this be considered 16 contacts?
So this is one way. The 10 likes to the post is one way. The 5 comments is one way. The direct message could be two-way if they respond in real time.
No. That wasn't my question. The 5 comments a day, they're separate from the 10 likes. So this would be 16 contacts?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So 10 likes, 5 written comments. So it's 16 actions. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. So yesterday we talked about the 10 conversations, the 10 contacts added, and the 10 handwritten notes. Today we're talking about the social media engagement and the enrichments. So today, based on what we shared, you should be able to understand your market center reports a little bit better, your previewing of homes, your MLS, visiting and holding open houses, and then understanding the language of real estate, and then reading the Millionaire Reels. So those are the enrichment piece. Teresa, I see your hand up. You're muted. It's 2023. We don't say that anymore.
I should know this. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. There's a great question in here, and I actually don't have the answer to it, Tiffany, and I know you will. Do we need to follow the TCPA or do not call with Facebook or direct message?
No, because there's no phone call. The do not call is specific to text messaging, voicemails, voice to voice, phone numbers. Yes, you are fine doing this. Same respect when Tim yesterday talked about if somebody tells you to stop talking to them, just stop talking to them. Give them that courtesy. But no, TCPA does not. Nope. Facebook is free. Go for it. Have fun. All right. Ahas. What you got? This is your part.
Confidence is 100% choice. I really like that.
Jake.
I'm a newer agent, so I was just thinking how awesome it is that, you know, Keller Williams produces all of this information about your market center and just how accessible it is. I feel like it really helps for a new agent, you know, building Facebook and stuff. I don't really have too much stuff to post, but, you know, post other agents' listings at my market center, information about how we're doing, listings, all that type of stuff. Just trying to get the ball rolling with that.
Make sure you get permission. And the only reason I bring this up is because you said make sure you get permission to market other agents' listings. Because that does, and definitely don't do other company agents' listings. Our company is fine. And the open house piece, we're going to dive into open houses in another session. However, a great way to start your business is many of our solo agents that do a lot of listings, they don't have the time to host open houses. A lot of our agents have grown their business by doing, 4 to 8 open houses a month. Just run open houses. There are still buyers out there. So, reach out to your productivity coaches, reach out to your agents that have a lot of listings and see if there's anybody that would like you to hold an open house. It's a great way to get your business started. Before you do that, make sure you go to a couple open houses, go to like 5 to 10 open houses, see how people are doing those open houses and pick the best practices. Don't just go in blind and do an open house.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What else?
Am I going to be able to see this whole class more than once?
Yes. Teresa, can you read there? If you go to Keller Williams New England YouTube channel, we 24 to 48 hours after the recording, it's posted on YouTube. And I highly recommend you take until you get to 15 transactions, you should take this class once a year or once every 6 months. Randy.
I think what I got out of you on this aha moment is how when you set up the appointment with the client, you are so prepared that you're not leaving that situation without them signing a contract.
Yeah.
So you've done all your homework, all your research, you have all your numbers, and you sound like you do a very good job in handling objections. And like you said, as a former recruiter for the Navy, one of the biggest things that you have to learn to deal with is objections. Mm-hmm. And you may have 1, 2, or 3, sometimes 5 objections before you finally get to the real answer. So you did, I think preparing before you get there is extremely important.
Yeah. So Chris Triglione, and she's the productivity coach for me, and her and I are great friends. I tell her every day, she's a 2-step listing appointment. She goes to the house, she looks at the house. She's a 2-stepper. I'm a 1-stepper. I only want to go to the house once. And granted, my personality, I like to get things done fast. I mean, I'm so prepared and I do so much preliminary work. And as we get through this, we're going to talk about the pre-qualifying the sellers and the buyers, but I pre-qualified them so well over the phone that when I get to the house, my mission and my goal is to be there no more than 30 minutes because I've gotten all the information that I need over the phone by asking great questions. I prepared those 2 hours or whatever, and 2 hours, because as a newer agent, it's going to take you time. It got down to, I could do it in 30 to 45 minutes now. And yet going to that appointment is just to solidify the relationship, see the house. And here's another script, because I don't know if I'll be on the calls down the road, but I start my conversation with the seller. One of 3 things are going to happen. We're going to choose to work together. You're going to choose that I'm not the agent for you, or I'm going to choose your property is not a great property for my inventory. And when I end the call and I say to them, or not the call, the meeting, if I turn around and say, I appreciate your time, I loved your house, I just don't think it's right for my inventory, 90% of the time it's because they want to price it too high and they don't want to be rejected. Like, sellers don't want to be rejected. It's kind of like reverse psychology, right? So I'll turn around. They're like, well, what can I do to make the house good for your inventory? Because I want you to list my house, right? You just play the game. I mean, and you'll learn. Like, just keep coming to classes that we teach. It's helpful. Shelley.
Yeah, it just occurred to me that in win with sellers, rather, there's a script in there. I forget who wrote it, but I just love the presentation and talk about the confidence. You walk in and you tell this person who's, incredibly seasoned and incredibly experienced, we're going to make a decision today. One of those decisions is essentially whether you're going to sign a contract with me and whether I'm going to decide to take you on as a client.
Yeah.
And I really like that, because you are implementing that reverse psychology to say, you don't necessarily have me yet.
Yeah.
And I like that. And work for it, both of you.
Yeah. And just so you know, none of this information, this is not Tiffany's information. Like, this is 23 years of experience. And when I joined KW in 2013, like, I was the #1 agent in Century 21 in all of New England when I joined KW. When I joined KW, I realized I was not top dog anymore. I did not know half of what I needed to know. When I joined KW in 2013, my life changed. My game changed. My conversations changed. So I contribute my success in everything that I've done because of Keller Williams. So you guys are at a great company. Teresa.
Okay. All right. You got a couple questions in here that I just wanted you to kind of share your opinions on. Somebody's asking, do you have a checklist for your process and what you're prepping for prior to the appointment? And the other question is, when you're being new, going to open houses, would you let them know that you're a new agent and getting acclimated, and just asking for the proper appropriate introduction?
Okay. So I do have checklists. I will put them in the Ignite 2.0 group. They are Maine specific, and they are from like 3 years ago, because that's when I stopped selling again. So just use it as a guideline and make sure it fits your market. The second question about open houses, I don't ever tell anyone I am new. Never. Whether they are another agent, whether they are a buyer or seller, the word new never comes out of my mouth. What I and I'll go into that deeper. As far as when I go to an open house, I give them my business card and I just say, thanks so much for hosting the open house. My name is Tiffany. I'm with Keller Williams. I'm just stopping by to see, I wanted to check out what's going on in the neighborhood and see if I have any buyers for this specific house. They don't need to know you're new, because here's the cool thing. If you're in productivity coaching, you're part of a team, right? So you can use their statistics. If you have a coach, you could say, I work with a team that sells X amount of properties. If you're not working with the productivity coach or a team environment like that, you could say, Keller, I work with a company that sold, and I'll use KW Maine for, I think we sold like 5,600 properties last year. I work with a company that sold 5,600 properties last year. Our goal is to be very knowledgeable of what's going on, and having that many sales in our company allows me to know the market to the best of my ability. I never use the word new. Brian.
Is there a real scenario where you don't want their house in your inventory?
Absolutely.
What?
So if they're a tough personality, like if my personality does not mesh their personality, and here, I don't ever want to lose sleep because I have a listing in my inventory that I can't sell. And I can't tell you how many hours, how many nights that I've woken up at 2 a.m. thinking about a property that I can't sell. So if our personalities don't mesh, I will refer them to an agent and take a 25% referral fee. If they're not willing to do what it takes to get the house to the standard that it would sell, like if they're a hoarder, or if they're, there's repairs that need to be done that they're not willing to take on, and the price. If the price does not reflect what it could sell for, and they're not willing, the only time I will take an overpriced listing and this is personal, this is my personal opinion, it's not, only time I will take an overpriced listing is if at the time of listing it, I get a price reduction for 2 weeks and then 2 weeks later, right? If they're not willing to price the house where I need, and it's overpriced, I don't need an overpriced listing, because that doesn't show that I know what I'm doing in the market. Agents know value, and most buyers have a buyer agent. And that buyer agent will say the house is overpriced. And even if that client does not have an agent, there's enough information between the KW app and stuff online that they can find out what's being sold in the neighborhood and see that it's overpriced.
Would a buyer's agent ever make you look kind of silly, or like make you look bad because the house is overpriced and you knew it and you didn't want to do it, but you did anyway?
They won't make me look bad. They will tell the client, I appreciate you wanting to look at this house. Check out these comps. This house is a little overpriced. It's against the code of ethics to disparage another agent. So does it happen out there? Probably. Do I do it? No. Would I ever do it? No. And nobody on the screen should ever do it. All right. What else? Any other questions? All right, let's go back. So what we talked about, and today's call was all about knowing the market, and I threw in some scripting opportunities in there. So we have keep the headlines in context. We have listen to individuals, learn the clientele, learn the market, right? That's building your expertise. And then we have knowing your market. What type of market are we in? And market, you could be in town A and it's a seller's market, and you can drive 45 minutes and be in town B and it's a buyer's market. Market is hyper local. What's the inventory look like? What are interest rates doing? What programs do lenders have to offset and make it easier for buyers to buy and sellers to sell? What are the economic factors, both nationally, locally, and hyper locally? And then what are other market factors like, specific to those buyers or sellers' needs? Any thoughts or questions as we recap that?
Hi, Tiffany.
Yes.
We're talking about numbers and statistics and all that. I have a habit every day that I study realtor.com for the inventory, see what's out there, new properties, so on. And then there's Trulia and Zillow, another two good sources of housing data.
Can I ask you a question before you continue? Why don't you just use your MLS?
Why don't I use my MLS?
Because truly and Zillow, first off, Zillow's a real estate company, so they're our competition. And Realtor.com is a marketing company that sells us leads. So, and if me as a listing agent says, do not outsource this information to third-party sites, that listing will only be in the MLS and not on those sites. So I would probably learn your MLS, because your MLS is going to give you more accurate information. Just an opinion.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? All right, we did this yesterday. Let's look at, based on what we talked about, how has your thinking changed today? This is the interactive part.
Hey, Tiffany, as someone else pointed out, the confidence is a choice. I think it's, one of those affirmations I'm going to add to my list.
Absolutely. Yeah. Trust me, I am not 100% confident. I show up like I am 100% confident, but I have limiting beliefs just like the rest of us. Who else? Who else has a thought change based on what we talked about? Shelley.
Not really a thought change, but just echoing in that know your market. And to Ed's last comment and yours in response, that I really encourage the webinar for MLS, because I agree, I'm an MLS junkie and there is so much to it. And when you do those specific, as you grow, and you do this, set up those specific hot sheets for areas that you really want to focus on, it's an immeasurable tool.
Absolutely. Monica.
I'm taking away focusing on Facebook as a marketing tool. So the 10, the 5, and the 1 really resonated with me. And while I was listening, I managed to complete them all and just focus it, versus I look at that Facebook and just take pictures and things that never really connected with the people from the past.
Absolutely.
So reaching out to those local people and accomplishing that allowed me to focus it on a different perspective.
Absolutely. Randy.
You had mentioned a few minutes ago about not telling people that you're new to the business. Mm-hmm. Can you go into depth a little bit more? Why would you not do that? Or or should you ever do that?
I don't. So you don't go into a conversation telling people that you're new to the business. If somebody directly asks you, are you new to the business? I'm not going to lie. I'm going to say, yeah, yes, I am. And I joined a company that is, and go through whatever that script is going to be for you, right? I joined a company that has a productivity coaching program that has sold 223 listings, right? I don't openly offer that to people, and I will not lie. I will have objection handlers when people say that. The biggest one is when somebody says, well, you're new to the business, I'm going to list with somebody with more experience. My favorite script to that is, well, the one difference between working with somebody that's more experienced is they may not have as much time as I have for you. As a newer agent, not only do I have all those same resources and support, but I also have all the time in the world to make sure that you are taken care of 100%. All right.
How would you overcome, how long have you been in the business, for like people like me and Naraya who are just getting started? So what if their question is, how long have you been in the business?
Well, I used to say it feels like forever. And then I would say, I'm a newer agent and again, fall on what Keller Williams offers you, right? Like, I'm a newer agent. I've been in this business for whatever. However, I have a team that has sold over 223 properties or whatever the number is that supports me. So you are going to get top-notch service. Shelley.
I think it's difficult, but I'd also, just to speak to that, can be advantageous. People in your sphere, family, close friends know that you're new. At that time, and I still do. I have a mentor and I have a coach. This is what I have to back me up.
Yep.
And it's very, 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 very helpful to people who obviously you're not going to lie to. And another piece of advice that I was giving to people who you don't necessarily have to lie to, but you don't have to be specific to, this is my first year. This is my second year. This is whatever sort of thing. And if they really, want to get down to that nuts and bolts, I say your mileage will vary, but I've relied on those and it's been very useful.
Yeah. And I will also say, this is why it's so important from the first day you're in business to start having real estate conversations and lead generating, because it doesn't come down to, because here's why. There's an agent in our market center that has been in business for 20 years. They've sold 4 properties in 2022. We have agent number 2 who has been in business for 9 months and sold 15 properties. Who should that person list with? So time doesn't really matter, because there's people that have been in the business for 20, 30, 40 years and do 2 deals a year. And they're not nearly as experienced as you guys are as brand new agents.
Margie. Like I mentioned when I came on, I'm sorry, Margie. I mentioned when I came on, I did a call, and instead of getting a lead, I got an agent to come over to Keller Williams. I did not tell her that I was new. What I did was, I have my passion is in real estate, and I've been doing this for so long and looking at the market. Working with Keller Williams has just been an awesome transition in my life and a new experience coming into 2023. This is what Keller Williams has to offer. I totally blocked out, I knew. I said, my passion is real estate. So it leads people, because you do what you like doing as a hobby.
Yep.
I like camping. That doesn't make me an expert in camping, but you talk about what you enjoy, and people overlook the newness and look at, wow, this person is passionate about this. I'm going to do that. That's what led that person to want to leave their agency to come to Keller Williams.
Yeah. And I'll get to you in 2 seconds, Margie, but to your point, I was an assistant team leader for a period of time, and I was the one that had those conversations. And all of you are newer, right? Most of you have said to me, well, I watch HGTV. I love homes. I go to open houses. I've watched the market on Trulia and Zillow and Realtor, and I really like, that's what they all say. So you all have some type of experience in real estate. You just didn't sell real estate, and now you're selling real estate. Margie.
I think that, I have a mentor. So either she or my broker review every single thing that I'm going to do for a listing, a transaction, and everything, at least the first 3.
Mm-hmm.
So really you're getting more bang, so
Yep.
You're not only getting me, but you're getting people who have been in the business forever and who are excellent and are supporting me as well. So you have twice the amount of support going in.
100%. Yeah. Honestly, I would work with a brand new agent before I worked with a seasoned agent.
Mm-hmm.
If I was knowing what I know now, if I got out of the business, I would work with a brand new agent, because it's not personal to seasoned agents. If there's anybody on the call, you get comfortable.
The other thing that I can offer myself is I'm an interior designer for the past 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really good at, staging or styling or decluttering or, having pictures look great and that kind of thing. So I can promote that as well, which is, I think, a big plus.
Absolutely. All right. What do you feel differently about today, now that we are an hour and a half into this class, than you did before you were in this class? What do you feel differently about?
I'm upset that I just realized at about 5 o'clock this morning that I was so busy planning and procrastinating that when I looked at my command, embarrassing, I had 0 contacts. And I did not realize I'm reaching out to people, but I wasn't getting the info or putting the info in. I was too busy trying to train.
Yep, 100%. Anyone else have something they want to share? All right. What behaviors are you going to change? I heard Monica, your answer can fill this one too.
I was just about to say that. Yep. Stop planning and get to it.
If you're on the call yesterday, you heard me say planning is a form of procrastination.
That resonated with me, and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So what behaviors are you going to change? And let me help you out with this. How many of you are actually going to lead generate at a high level after this call today? Okay. So what's going to get in your way?
Myself.
I was just going to say ourself.
So how are you going to prevent that from happening?
Just do it.
Just do it. I love those words.
I like that. Yeah, just do one. Just say, I'm just going to do one. And then you get into the rhythm and you'll likely feel good about it and keep going.
Yeah, I shared yesterday, make your first call somebody that likes you and wants to see you succeed. Make your last call somebody that likes you and wants to see you succeed. Everything in between, it doesn't matter. And how do you get to 100 no's? You're going to get no's. How do you get to 100 of them? Do not just call 2 people today. Your mission and your goal is to work yourself up to 20 conversations a day about real estate. That's the mission and the goal, 20 a day. Because if you do 20 a day, that's 100 a week, you should get 1 pipeline opportunity. You're going to gradually step up there. However, if you and I talk again in 3 months and you're telling me you're talking to 3 people a day, I might have an eye roll for you. Just saying. Monica, do you have another? No? Okay. So what tools, models, or systems? Well, and Monica, you answered this one too. You're actually going to use command. Sorry, I didn't mean to ask you to, I lowered your hand. What tools, models, or systems will you use? Monica said command. What else are you going to use? And I feel whoever said that they were going to use Realtor.com and Zillow and Trulia, we're going to use MLS. What else?
Said it's dying to see. Yeah.
What else? What other systems, tools, models? What are you going to use?
I'm going to utilize 2 coaches that I have access to.
Okay. What else? What other tools, models, and systems are you going to use? I'm looking for one specific statement. And let me just help you out.
MLS?
MLS is yes.
I'm going to use the daily success system that we've been learning about.
Yes, thank you. Right. So you now have the top 5. We talked about the 10 conversations. We talked about adding the 10 contacts. We talked about the 10 handwritten notes. We talked about the 10-5-1 social media engagement. We talked about enrichments. This is an enrichment. Okay. So every day, how do we get to this? So, and again, on day 20 of Ignite, that 10 conversations should move to 20. We'll start off with, we're doing 10. All right. Let's close it out. Any last ahas, any last questions? Margie.
When you say writing notes, like how do you do notes to people?
So essentially, let's say I called the lender who answered a question for me. I would write a handwritten note and say, thanks so much for taking the time to answer the question. If I talked to a family member and they shared something with me, it was great talking with you. Just whoever you're doing those 10 conversations with, play off of those. Those are where you can do the, you know, if you talk to somebody on social media, or let's just say, you know, it was somebody's birthday or somebody got married. It was great talking to you. Congratulations again about getting married. If I could ever help you with real estate, please let me know.
And it should be handwritten in the mail.
Handwritten in the mail.
Okay.
Yep. Brian.
How do you add 10 contacts a day?
To command?
Just in general, like what if you've used all of your contacts? How do you add 10 new contacts that you currently don't have?
So that's the lead generation piece. So first off, is everybody you know in command? And if they're not in command, let's start there. Let's say all of your family members, all of your friends, co-workers, right? I'm going to put in the chat, and some of you know about this and some of you do not. We're running the 201.club. This is to help you get to, oh, sorry, that just went to one person. This is to help you get to 201 people in command. So as you're doing that success program, implement this. A lot of what you're asking, Brian, will be answered in that program, the 201.club. Shelley.
Oh, I just wanted to note that in command for me at this point, I find it really helpful to put in my notes if it's a new contact. Make sure I put in the notes where I met them on the date and I follow through with that. So if I look at a name at a glance and go, I can't remember who the heck it is, I go into my notes and I can say, okay, this is where I met them. Where do I need to, you know, sort of thing. Very useful.
Yeah, and I shared yesterday that the KW Command app, you should be using that to call people instead of just your Google, because it tracks text messages, it tracks phone numbers. If you have an upcoming command class, take it. I know Brooke is out teaching somewhere today, but most market centers have a market center tech trainer or do some type of tech training. And if they don't, Teresa, can you put my contact info in the chat? If for a reason you don't have a resource like that, reach out to me and I'll get you some resources. Margie, do you have another question or statement? Okay. What else? Was this helpful?
Of course.
Okay. Take action. Because if you do not take action, this was just entertainment and I'm not here to entertain you. All right, my friends, have an amazing Thursday. And if you need anything, just reach out.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Tiffany. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.